When I was a young man, before I was a monk, I'd look at fast cars and think, ooh, I'd like a fast car. Now I look at good knees. Ooh, look at those knees. So, um, simple practices like, for me, sucking candies. Simple practices of awakening to thinking and bringing attention to the heart, listening, sustaining listening, knowing silence is enough. But it's a lot, I think. It's a lot because we kind of so much get lost in views and opinions and thinking and all that. And it seems to me if we have love and kindness in our hearts, then there's humility. Excuse me. Um, and when there's humility, to me, it seems that then we connect to life. We listen. And when we listen, I think that facilitates wisdom. Wisdom is natural to human consciousness. If you just watch and observe, you learn things. So the conceits of opinions and views and all of that block wisdom, I should think, in that sense. Anyway, for me, the more I can live with love and kindness in my heart, seems the better I respond to life. And I don't know about you, but I'm often embarrassed by my own opinions. I'll have strong opinions about whatever, people, Dhamma, and then life will embarrass me to show me my net, that there are other viewpoints. And that, I think, humbling of the heart is very good for me, because that's the most peaceful, I'd say. That's the most peaceful. Views and opinions for me aren't very peaceful. They give a false confidence. Now that's on a kind of spiritual level. On a business level and on a craft level, I'm on a whatever. If you're a mechanic and you're fixing a car, then there's place for knowledge and that. So if I were to recommend a practice, I would just say get to recognize thinking and make the default mechanism down here, center of the chest. And then listen. And listening is not, for me, listening isn't just about sound, it's about awareness. To me, listening is it's a good way of considering awareness. It's not just about the audio function, but it's an attitude of allowing the world to present itself in whatever way it's going to. That's why when I taught the body meditations, that's why I tried to use this language of let the feelings in your hand become conscious. There's a particular way I find using that phraseology for me is I'm not trying to do something or focus on the body, but I'm localizing attention and the body comes into consciousness. And then I see it. I see it as it is, as opposed to a concept. So when you relate to people, if, we all know that, don't we? When you have love and kindness in the heart, you tend to be more humble, you tend to listen more, and then you can respond. But if there is an opinion about how it should be, then quite often you're coming from that opinion, and then there's conflict. There isn't connection. And whether you let's say someone you love is, let's say you find someone tell you learn that someone you love is ill, has cancer or something horrible like that. Where does that touch you? It touches you here, doesn't it? And then you think, oh, what am I going to do and what kind of thing? But it touches you here first. But also, when you learn that someone in your family has had a really beautiful success or something lovely in their life, same place, right? Touches the same place. And then your mind might think about it. To me, also, I think the heart's very restful. Kind of like thoughts, not a terrible thought. It's not very restful at all. It's just churning away and then trying to get rid of thought. Also, I think we all have suffered that one. That kind of, oh, shut up. Will you leave me alone? Blah, 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 blah in the mind. But that's violent. That's the kind of violence we do. So the just the redirection of attention from one side of the room doesn't have to be an aversion to that side of the room. I can see that and turn my attention to that. It doesn't have to come from desire or aversion. It can just come from preference. So in understanding the thinking mind, its limits and its strengths and weaknesses, and then being able to make a choice by noticing thought and then just allowing, oh yeah, but what's the heart feel like? Is a choice that doesn't have to come from desire or aversion or anything, just because there's interest in the heart that can come from non-desire. Yeah, I don't know, in Western culture, there's this kind of language of alienation and connection. I don't know how that works in Thai language, but um, when you think about it, if I want something from you, if I really, uh, if I hate you, or if I'm afraid of you, all of these different things, then my relation to you is alienated. But if I can come to my heart and then feel whatever it is between us, the friction or whatever, and I just stay here, then eventually I think I'm going to really know who you are. Because this is to me, this is, don't you think that's a kind of intelligence there? It's not the intelligence of thought, it's the intelligence of maybe non-ego connection. Kind of why I'm talking in this way is I just found out my brother has cancer. So I just got a note from his daughter. And but in the same letter, she invited me to her wedding, May 9th. And it's one of those modern marriages where they have a kid 1 year old. And I said, well, I better get married. So there's my brother's 2 years older. So there's the sense of, ooh, he's been quite ill. He's got very poor kidney function. He's had heart problems recently. He was in the hospital for ulcers and esophagus, I think. So he's on his way out, obviously. Funny, and also I had a kind of feeling when I left, am I going to see this guy again? Am I going to see him again? Anyway, so when I get a letter like that, where do I feel? And I feel it here. Ah, this is going to be a hard time for him. But also his daughter, my niece, lovely lady, and lovely family, beautiful child. And so she writes her bit, which is very happy. She says, on a happier note, we would like to invite you to the wedding on May 9th. And that's the same place, isn't it? The same place. So I'll go to the wedding and maybe the funeral will come too. And then the joy I feel for their loving relationship will come in the same place as the sadness I feel for my brother's pain. It's the same place. Um, I don't know what outfit I'll wear for the wedding, but I think I'm pretty sure I went to my brother's wedding, no, my nephew's wedding long ago, 15 years, something like that. And I said, when you start drinking the bubbly, I'm out of here. So sure enough, there was a wedding ceremony and I gave a little reflection and then champagne came out. I snuck out the back door. I'm out of here. You guys have a good time. So I have only a certain amount of mudita and then I'm, so the heart is, it takes all that in. And it's a humble thing, isn't it? I can't fix my brother's health concerns. It's just life. 80 years old, it's a full term. Um, but I can just try to be with it in a way which is uh, honest and open and humble. So to me, it's kind of like a simple summation of what I've been working on for so many years. You're working with your own conceits and your own fears and your own self-doubts and all that business we have as human beings of trying to understand ourselves and trying to make livelihood and meaning in your life. And then what's really valuable in our relationships and uh, where do things get in the way? Maybe it's just the kind of softness of an old man. Because like in a monastery, it's very important to have long pause. Because if you only have like 30-year-old monks, it's cocky late, Toraman, Nang Samadhi, what ton, there's a kind of, oh God. And then when you're my age, Choi Choi, Tam Sabai, Openya. So that grandfathers are important. But if you only had grandfathers, everyone would fall asleep. So you need young monks to calculate. Anyway, I'm obviously in that range. So when I, like Ajahn Suchitana, when we see young monks doing Toraman practices, like, wow, we're going to sit up all night. You look at each other. Why are they doing this? And then we remind ourselves that we did that too. And it, it's not necessary. You just be peaceful, be relaxed. And Ajahn Suchito just was in hospital and he had some blood in his urine. So he's got some prostate problems. So I got that letter too from him. And then, but it's all in the heart. When you process it and respond accordingly. A visiting Zen student asked Ajahn Chah, I've read this quite often, you've heard it, but a visiting Zen student asked Ajahn Chah, how old are you? Do you live here all year round? Luangpor Chah's answer, I live nowhere. There is no place you can find me. I have no age. To have age, you must exist, and to think you exist is already a problem. Don't make problems, then the world has none either. Don't make a self. There's nothing more to say. That's a puzzle, isn't it? What the heck's he talking about? Well, if you replace I with awareness, let's say, if I identify as awareness, now, I'm not saying Rinpoche said that, but like these are kind of things. When you get something enigmatic and puzzling, then I like those things because I think it's coming from a master. He's not saying it just to crack a joke, and he's saying it to a Zen student who has a particular way of thinking about Buddhism or whatever. So then I look at that and I live nowhere. How about saying, if I changed I to awareness, awareness lives nowhere? He replied, there is no place you can find awareness. Awareness has no age. To have age, you must exist, and to think you exist is already a problem. Don't make problems. It's one way of thinking about it. But it certainly, your Buddhist frameworks of opinions and knowledge isn't going to answer that. So it's a kind of a different kind of a statement. How old are you? So you could say that, yeah, I am Viradhammo and I am 78, and as you have learned on this retreat, I have bad knees, and so on and so forth. But what is it that knows that? That arises and ceases in awareness. You could say, I said that, and you say, okay, I said that, and then hold that, I said that. Can you find an I? There's certainly consciousness. There's something going on. But if I try to find an I, and you have to do this in silence. You can't be thinking, what's he thinking about? You have to be very silent. And then you attend to the moment. It's like this. And then the sense of I comes and goes with thought. Why did I do that yesterday? What am I going to do when I go back home? Maybe I'll run away from my family, or whatever you want to think. That the sense of personality arises and ceases. So you might ask, where did that question come from? I made the question. But then you get back, yeah. So the assumption that I am the mind and body is what anatta is challenging. That which has a nature to arise, has a nature to cease, is not who you are. It's not me, like the Anatta Lakkhana Sutta. This is not me, this is not mine, this is not who I am. What's that about? What's that about? But look how quickly we identify, my legs are really bad this morning, and God, life is a mess just now. Or I'm really happy, That is conventional truth. So to enter into this to enter into peace, you have to really attend to the sense of self and really notice it arising and ceasing. And as you notice it arising and ceasing as thought, you tend to be drawn to the silence. But mostly our attention is drawn by the sense of self, driven by thinking, worry, fear, doubt, blah, blah, blah. That's one way to look at it. The second one from Luangpor. People have asked me about my practice. How do I prepare my own mind for meditation? There's nothing special. I just keep it where it always is. They ask, are you then an arahat? Do I know? I am like a tree full of leaves, blossoms, and fruit. Birds come to eat and to nest. Yet the tree does not know itself. It follows its nature. It is as it is. So, I think the thing, do you do Mahasi or do you do rising, falling? I think that was the question. It was coming at him in that kind of a way. He wouldn't go there. So how could you look at that? Well, what if the tree is awareness? Or what if the tree is the background? And in the foreground are the fruits and birds coming and going. It might be a way of thinking about it. Anyway, I'm not going to give you an answer. I'm sharing my hobby. I don't really think of myself as a teacher because I don't teach in an academic ABC. I just say, well, let's think about this or think about that. But because you're all experienced, I find these enigmas quite fruitful to kind of go back. Well, what do I know, or how do I perceive this? Anyway, that's one. And I also enjoy trying to find literature from people I feel have realized something very profound. So one of the teachers that are very popular in the West, he died in about 1990, I think. Nisargadatta Maharaj, he is asked, he was from Bombay. I think he sold cigarettes, Beediwala, right? Something like that. Um, and his guru said to him, you are the supreme, something like that. That's who you really are. So he goes off to the mountains for 3 years. Doesn't really talk about what happened, but he comes back and he seems to be enlightened. I tried it and it didn't work. I had to do more work. Anyway, so this is his when he's asked, so what happened? What was the change like? The main change was in the mind. It became motionless and silent, responding quickly, but not perpetuating the response. Spontaneity became a way of life. The real became natural, and the natural became real. And above all, infinite affection, love, dark and quiet, radiating in all directions, embracing all, making all interesting and beautiful, significant and auspicious. Wow, I like that. That's like whatever he's realized, I want some of that. So it's like his sense of awareness is love. So above all, infinite affection. Infinite affection means whatever comes up, there is an affection for pain, for disagreement, for air pollution, for infinite affection. What does that? What could that mean? I mean, that's the way I function when I see something like that. I look at that rather than say, "Well, good for you, mate." I'm still so struggling with my bad knees. But then I take those words, and above all, infinite affection for coffee, love, dark and quiet, radiating in all directions, embracing all, making all interesting and beautiful, significant and auspicious. So sometimes I'll take a piece like that, just memorize it, repeat it, and then see what it does to my mind. It's not like an intellectual position. It's a kind of a suggestion, isn't it, of how we can be. The main change was in the mind. It became motionless and silent. That, I think that's easy to relate to, whether one can come to that, responding quickly, but not perpetuating the response. So perpetuating the response, what does that mean? Well, you go to an interview with the monk, and beforehand, you rehearse. What'll I say? What'll I say? What'll I say? What'll I say? You have your list. Then you talk with the monk, and then afterward you say, shouldn't have said it, shouldn't have said it, should have said something else. And that's perpetuating the response. Memory, should have this. And one of the ways that like Zen practitioners talk about, you burn everything up in the moment of response. And to me, response is different than reaction. I don't know if you know in the nuance in Thai, but reaction is something that is, let's say it's not mindful. It's just, you say something to me and I react, no, something like that. Whereas response is, to me, coming somehow from the Brahma Viharas, because I think the Brahma Viharas are, when the heart is open, there's a response from that place. And I think all of us have seen that when you do respond from an open heart, usually you don't get that perpetuation of memory. I should have said this, I should have said that. Somehow, for me, that response from here is in line with the context of the situation. I mean, that's not an absolute statement, but whereas when I'm just reacting from my own irritations or prejudices or biases, and then it kind of spins on. Spontaneity became a way of life. The real became natural, and natural became spontaneity. Is not impulsivity. Again, English. Impulsive would be that, uh, I'd like to see if this can break. Bang. That wasn't a good idea. Kind of just impulsively doing something. Whereas spontaneity is a response to the situation, not preordained, not thought about, but appropriate to time and place. The sort of sense of really this life is only in the present moment. That's the way I take that. I don't know how you take it. Spontaneity became a way of life. The real became natural, and the natural became real. So, what is natural is the way things are. What is papancha is the way I judge them, I analyze them in all kinds of different ways. And above all, and this is the piece that really inspires me, above all, infinite affection, love, dark and quiet, radiating in all directions, embracing all, making all interesting and beautiful, significant and auspicious. I must admit, I felt that with Luangpor Cha. There is something kind of radiantly all-embracing about him. Anyway, how about I don't know if that, as a meditation, would be all right if I read Tilopa Song to Naropa? Sometimes Dutiyampi helps. Tatyampi is even better. So let's do a meditation. I'll read that poem again. Again, if you find it confusing or you don't like it, it feels like this. Don't blame me, please. I gotta do something. You feed me so well, I have to. So sit in meditation. Remember Mahamudra, you could translate as awareness. Tilopa Song to Naropa. Mahamudra, the royal way, is free from every word and sacred symbol. For you alone, beloved Naropa, this wonderful song springs forth from Tilopa as spontaneous friendship that never ends. The completely open nature of all dimensions and events is a rainbow, always occurring yet never grasped. The way of Mahamudra creates no closure. No strenuous mental effort can encounter this wide open way. The effortless freedom of awareness moves naturally along it. As space is always freshly appearing and never filled, so the mind is without limits and ever aware. Gazing with sheer awareness into sheer awareness, habitual abstract structures melt into the fruitful springtime of Buddhahood. White clouds that drift through blue sky, changing shape constantly, have no root, no foundation, no dwelling, nor do changing patterns of thought that float through the sky of mind. When the formless expanse of awareness comes clearly into view, obsession with thought forms ceases easily and naturally. As within the openness of universal space, shapes and colors are spontaneously forming, although space has no color or form, so within the expanse of awareness, realms, relations, and values are arising, although awareness possesses no positive or negative characteristics. As the darkness of night, even were it to last 1,000 years, could not conceal the rising sun, so countless ages of conflict and suffering cannot conceal the innate radiance of mind. Although philosophers explain the transparent openness of appearances as empty of permanent characteristics and completely indeterminable, this universal indeterminacy can itself never be determined. Although sages report the nature of awareness to be luminosity, this limitless radiance cannot be contained within any language or sacramental system. Although the very essence of mind is to be void of either subjects or objects, it tenderly embraces all life within its womb. To realize this inexpressible truth, do not manipulate mind or body, but simply open into transparency with relaxed, natural grace, intellect at ease in silence, limbs at rest in stillness, like hollow bamboos. Neither breathing in nor breathing out, with a breath of habitual thinking, allow the mind to be at peace in brilliant wakefulness. This is the royal wealth of Mahamudra, no common coin of any realm. Beloved Naropa, this treasure of Buddhahood belongs to you and to all beings. Obsessive use of meditative disciplines or perennial study of scripture and philosophy will never bring forth this wonderful realization, this truth, which is natural to awareness, because the mind that desperately desires to reach another realm or level of experience inadvertently ignores the basic light that constitutes all experience. The one who fabricates any division in consciousness betrays the friendship of Mahamudra. Cease all activity that separates, abandon even the desire to be free from desires, and allow the thinking process to rise and fall smoothly as waves on a shoreless ocean. The one who never dwells in abstraction and whose only principle is never to divide or separate upholds the trust of Mahamudra. The one who abandons craving for authority and definition and never becomes one-sided in argument or understanding alone perceives the authentic meaning hidden in the ancient scriptures. In the blissful embrace of Mahamudra, negative viewpoints and their instincts are burned without remainder like camphor. Through the open door of Mahamudra, the deluded state of self-imprisonment is easily left behind forever. Mahamudra is the torch of supreme liberty, shining forth through all conscious beings. Those beings constituted by awareness, who try to ignore, reject, or grasp awareness, inflict sorrow and confusion upon themselves, like those who are insane. To be awakened from this madness, cultivate the gracious friendship of a sublime sage of Mahamudra, who may appear to the world as mad. When the limited mind enters blessed companionship with limitless mind, indescribable freedom dawns. Selfish or limited motivations create the illusory sense of imprisonment and scatter seeds of further delusion. Even genuine religious teaching can generate narrowness of vision. Trust only the approach that is utterly vast and profound. The noble way of Mahamudra never engages in the drama of imprisonment and release. The sage of Mahamudra has absolutely no distractions because no war against distractions has ever been declared. This nobility and gentleness alone, this nonviolence of thought and action, is the traceless path of all Buddhas. To walk this all-embracing way is the bliss of Buddhahood. Phenomena on every plane of being are constantly arising and disappearing. Thus they are forever fresh, always new, and inexhaustible. Like dreams without solid substance, they can never become rigid or binding. The universe exists in a deep, elusive way that can never be grasped or frozen. Why feel obsessive desire or hatred for it, thereby creating illusory bonds? Renounce arbitrary, habitual views. Go forth courageously to meditate in the real mountain of wilderness, the wide-open Mahamudra. Transcend boundaries of kinship by embracing all living beings as one family of consciousness. Remain without any compulsion in the landscape and natural freedom, spontaneous, generous, joyful. When you receive the crown of Mahamudra, all sense of rank or attainment will quietly disappear. Cut the root of the vine that chokes the tree, and its clinging tendrils wither away entirely. Sever the conventionally grasping mind, and all bondage and desperation dissolve. The illumination from an oil lamp lights the room instantly, even if it has been dark for eons. Mind is boundless radiance. How can the slightest darkness remain in the room of daily perception? But one who clings to mental processes cannot awaken to the radiance of mind. Strenuously seeking truth by investigation and concentration, one will never appreciate the unthinkable simplicity and bliss that abide at the core. To uncover this fertile ground, cut through the roots of complexity with the sharp gaze of naked awareness, remaining entirely at peace, transparent, and content. You need not expend great effort, nor store up extensive spiritual power. Remain in the flow of sheer awareness. Mahamudra neither accepts nor rejects any current of energy, internal or external. Since the ground consciousness is never born into any realm of being, nothing can add to or subtract from it. Nothing can obstruct or stain it. When awareness rests here, the appearance of division and conflict disappears into original reality. The twin emotions of anxiety and arrogance vanish into the void from which they came. Supreme knowing knows no separate subject or object. Supreme action acts resourcefully without any array of instruments. Supreme attainment attains the goal without past, future, or present. The dedicated practitioner experiences the spiritual way as a turbulent mountain stream, tumbling dangerously among boulders. When maturity is reached, the river flows smoothly and patiently with the powerful sweep of the Ganges. Emptying into the ocean of Mahamudra, the water becomes ever-expanding light that pours into great clear light, without direction, destination, division, distinction, or description.